Then एक they when you see 50s, 60s, 70s, it's very important, constantly there has been a Gandhi narrative. It's like and this Brahminical cultural symbolism has always been there. Like every time you just switch on AIR, and then there will be this song, दे दी तूने आजादी साबरमती के संत तूने कर दिया कमाल रघुपति राघव राजा राम. I mean, see the narratives, the ways in which Gandhi has been narrativized and has been imposed on people. And this is where the Ambedkarites completely took a opposite turn, and they rejected these things. This has been there has been a vocal support, there has been a complete vocal expression to oppose this kind of a narrative, and then and it was never appreciated by the Ambedkarites. Then there is another song that came from Bollywood, that is सुन ले बापू ये पैगाम तेरी चिट्ठी तेरे नाम चिट्ठी में लिखा है something Ram Ram and all kinds of, so that the Balakven movie was produced long ago. So these are the narratives, these are the songs which have been bombarded all the time on the minds of Indians, and that is how the Gandhi syndrome still exists. It's very sad that even likes of Akil Bilgrami, there are many people who elogize Gandhi like anything. I mean, no philosopher would like to elogize. I mean, no philosopher, no any sane philosopher will ever elogize Gandhi. It is as simple as this. One also has to see how person is really propagating what, whether it is rejecting those kind of normatives and creating a different kind of an enabling process, and make it as a part of your political democracy, or the person is simply sticking to those kind of ideas, which is a caste institution, which is a jati dharma, and even then he is regarded as the most important person. I mean, it's very simple. If I recall the example today, only 6 member of parliaments were in support of the Hindu Code Bill in the independent India, in the post 26 January 1950 India. And the rest of the parliamentarian, entire parliament, it is a history that only 6 members of the parliament were in support of that bill, and the rest were opposed to it. And the people who were opposed to it today, their statue is being constructed, their names is being given to the railway station, to the trains, their ideas are being eulogized like anything. And I really wonder where the feminists are sitting in India. I mean, that also becomes a huge problem, and one has to see very critically all those things, and whether there is this syndrome of acceptance, or whether there is this whole idea of self-criticality that really enters into everyday sphere of life and make an analysis of the self. And this analysis of the self doesn't exist from these kind of people, and therefore the society doesn't change. So and that is why, like Baba Sahib says very clearly, Mahatmas have come and Mahatmas have gone, untouchables are there where they are, and it is still there. It's not that the consolidated efforts made by the Ambedkarites has always been faced not only for just not for the equality but also dignity, but also the transformation. That is what is a real crux of the politics, and therefore one has to see that uh, the politics in India, I see it as from Ambedkar and anti-Ambedkar perspective. Ambedkar represents transformation, and anti-Ambedkar is the one which does not which represent the status quo. And I'm not talking about the political party as such. You have to see which political party really is for transformation and which political party is not for transformation. And those who claim that they are liberal, secular, and all kinds of things, including leftist and all those things. So, what has produced the trade movement in India? I mean, I would like to sum up like this: like the East produced, not produced, but the propelled Durga Puja, and the West propelled Ganpati Puja. I mean, this is how the pujas have been propelled in India by those kind of a trade unions and trade movements and stuff like that. So therefore, one has to see what is Ambedkar. The politics in India has to be studied from the Ambedkar and anti-Ambedkar. Then then there is this whole idea where the Ambedkar has been pushed as an icon of untouchable. This is what has happened in the post-independent India politics and also in the pre-independent India politics. Uh, and like others become national leader, whereas Ambedkar does not become a national leader, but he becomes only a Dalit leader. That is how the textbooks, the Congress narrative, the Brahmanical narrative has always projected Ambedkar, and therefore, इसलिए Ambedkarites have crafted their songs and everything in a very different way. तो तो उनकी जो संवेदना है वो संवेदना बहुत एक कारगर तरीके से इस बात का विरोध करती है कि बाबा साहब जो है वो केवल और केवल हम वो स्वीकारते हैं, ठीक है, और वो लिखते हैं कि वो तो दलितों के राजा थे। और इसलिए जब भी एक प्रोसेशन निकलता था तो एक नारा लगता था कि बाबा साहब अमर रहे। बाबा साहब कौन थे? दलितों के राजा थे। दैट ही वाज अ किंग ऑफ द दलित, king of the untouchables, and the untouchable community of India accepted that they realized it. They accepted it, that yes, we accept him as a king, we accept him as our leader, we accept him as a torchbearer, but we will not accept Gandhi as our leader. That is very clear. We will not accept any other leader as our leader. That is a very conscious decision made by the Ambedkarites in Maharashtra, and they lived throughout, and they are still living that, and they are still sticking to this kind of a narrative. And because of sticking to this kind of a narrative, they could produce number of songs and kavals and everything around that. And therefore, you will notice that Ambedkar's life, Ambedkar's work has been narrated throughout this dance, throughout these songs and the poetry. It is phenomenal. No any other country, भारत में कोई भी ऐसा नेता नहीं है, कोई भी ऐसी व्यक्ति नहीं है जिनके ऊपर, मॉडर्न इंडिया में ऐसी कोई व्यक्ति नहीं है जिनके ऊपर इतनी सारी गानों की रचना हुई है, जिनका जो जीवन है वो अपने आप में एक दर्शन की तरह देखा गया और उनके ऊपर गाने लिखे गए हैं और वो कविता लिखी गई है, और उन गानों का वो गाने और वो कविता जो है वो एक पब्लिक प्लेटफॉर्म पे सुनाई गई है। ये खास बात है, और यह आपको और किसी भी नेता के बारे में नहीं मिलता, किसी भी मूवमेंट के बारे में नहीं मिलता। Then there is this whole idea of understanding of caste, and that has been extremely problematic, in the sense that what Ambedkar has said, like what is caste. So he defines caste not only division of labor but also division of laborers, and then also he talks about the dynamics of the endogamy marriage, the exogamy marriage, and how those marriage systems have been instrumental in maintaining the institution of caste and all those things. Now, Dumo also makes similar kind of an analysis, but the sociologists would like to acknowledge Dumo, but would not like to acknowledge Ambedkar. Why it is so? You have to see the reasons, and therefore I always say that the fallacy of intellectuals in India, including those liberal academies, has been so enormously very biased that they cannot be rational. The rationality doesn't exist in their mind. And why rationality does not exist in mind? Because for them, rationality is only for the self-construction and self-elogization. And rationality has many dimensions. Like if the objective of the rationality is all about killing ignorance, then it becomes a righteous rationality. But if the objective of the rationality is not to kill ignorance, then it becomes a protected ignorance. So it's very simple. So the entire production process, all these things has been very much part of the रक्षित अज्ञान, कि हमारा रक्षित अज्ञान के संकल्पना को हम जी रहे हैं, और अभी भी उस रक्षित अज्ञान की संकल्पना को हम उजागर, हम हमेशा उसको पानी देके उस पौधे को और से ज्यादा बढ़ा रहे हैं। और ये ये जो सिंड्रोम है, ये एक अपने आप में दिस बिकम्स पार्ट ऑफ द कल्चरल हिंदूनेस, एंड ऑल्सो इट बिकम्स पार्ट ऑफ द लार्जर ब्राह्मणिकल कल्चरल नेशनलिस्ट प्रोजेक्ट। तो एक जो इतिहास की जो संकल्पना है, that also Ambedkar completely puts in a very different way। और फिर हमारे पोस्ट कॉलोनियल जो भाई है, वो तो कहते हैं कि कास्ट इज अ colonial construct। अब in Marathi I call it as a Zavai Shodh। there is a term in Marathi which is known as Zavai Shodh। Zavai Shodh means, if you have to translate it in, ने जवाई ने कोई घर में जाता है, और वो जवाई जब दामाद जो घर में जाता है और वो रहता है और वो कुछ खोज के निकालता है, तो और जिसका कोई मतलब नहीं होता है, जो कि एकदम अहिस्टोरिकल है, जो कि गैर ऐतिहासिक है, जो कि बिल्कुल इरेशनल है, वो उसको उजागर करता है। तो उसको, इसलिए उसको वो एक संज्ञा दी जाती है, वो है कि दामाद की सोच या दामाद का शोध। So that is Davai Shodh। So post-colonials are a fantastic example of Davai Shodh। Their entire post-coloniality is all about talking about the अंग्रेजों ने ये किया, वो किया, अरे तुमने क्या किया, and what you have been doing, what your society has been doing। Have you ever been part and parcel of the project of the transformation? Have you changed your own society? No, you have not been engaged in changing your own society in your own family। It's very simple। Had there been this kind of a change, probably the society would be very different today. And the kind of a backlash or the violence which we are facing, violence on the women, violence on the scheduled caste, violence on the scheduled tribe, is very much part of this kind of psychotic perversions. And caste is a psychotic perversion। I mean, Ambedkar calls Varna as a perversion, and therefore I call caste as a psychotic perversion। Now, this psychotic perversion needs to be understood, and therefore the anti-caste production becomes very important, and that becomes part of the project of modernity। So you have to see there are multiple modernities, no doubt about that, कि वो आधुनिकतावाद जो है वो अनेक ढंग से आता है, अनेक ढंग से उसकी उसकी व्याख्या की जाती है, लेकिन उस व्याख्या में भी क्या एक जो ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन की संज्ञा है या संकल्पना है, वो कितपत कारगर होती है, ये आप देखना चाहिए। किसी भी समाज में परिवर्तन जो है, क्या आपकी जो आधुनिकता है वो परिवर्तनशील है, और वो परिवर्तनशील कैसा, ये ऐसा नहीं है कि आप आज साड़ी डाल रहे हो तो कल जीन पैंट डाल लो, ये कोई परिवर्तन नहीं होता। परिवर्तन आपके विचारों में, परिवर्तन आपके आपके संस्कृति में, परिवर्तन आपकी आपके आपके रोजमर्रा जिंदगी में वो कितना आता है और कितना आप उसको जीते हैं, ये सबसे बड़ा सवाल है। एंड दिस बिकम्स दिस थिंग्स, एंड देन देयर इज दिस होल प्रोसेस ऑफ संस्कृताइजेशन, एंड Ambedkarites have always opposed this संस्कृताइजेशन। और हमें ये देखने को मिलता है, लाइक व्हाट वी सी इज दैट देयर इज अ पोवाड़ा ट्रेडिशन इन महाराष्ट्र, कि वो पोवाड़ा एक ट्रेडिशन है, एक परंपरा है पोवाड़ा की। और महात्मा फुले ने बहुत सारे पोवाड़ा लिखे हैं, सावित्रीबाई फुले ने बहुत सारे पोवाड़ा लिखे हैं, और वो पोवाड़ा की एक परंपरा है दैट यू रिसाइट द हीरोइक सॉन्ग्स, यू रिसाइट सॉन्ग्स दैट आर इंस्पिरेशनल इन नेचर, दैट विल give power to transform people। That is what is the tradition of Povada, which Phule does it very beautifully in 19th century महाराष्ट्र। उसके बाद में एक अभंग आता है, अभंग की परंपरा आती है। देयर इज अ ट्रेडिशन ऑफ अभंग, एंड देन देयर इज अ ट्रेडिशन ऑफ भक्ति गीत। नाउ भक्ति गीत और अभंग ऑलमोस्ट आर पैरेलल टू ईच अदर। देयर इज अ वेरी लिटिल डिफरेंस बिटवीन अभंग एंड भक्ति गीत। नाउ कि एक देयर इज दिस कम्युनिटी चैंटिंग, कि एक कम्युनिटी जो है वो उनके अपने चैंट्स होते हैं, उनकी अपनी एक परंपरा होती है। से फॉर एग्जांपल जो महार कम्युनिटी इन महाराष्ट्र, दे ऑलवेज क्लेम दैट दे आर नागवंशीय, and that reflection comes through their songs, because every Nag Panchami they would always gather and chant this जय जय डंकारे उकार विकार, विकार करू रे पुहान पाणी, माझी चिंता रे तुझ्याच दारी। सो so this is how they would chant collectively. This now I could, I mean, I don't, I remember only these lines. I don't remember the entire song, and the people who were knowing have died. So there is this whole idea of asserting yourself as a part of the Nagvanshya thing, because this is how people would come, gather, and just make this chanting. Then फिर जो songs है, the songs at a popular level become part of the process of sensitization. कि how you really sensitize community, make them understand the pain, the sufferings which they are, and what kind of a things they want to go. And then you have other thing that becomes very important, and that is the mm, that is Qawwali, because Qawwali is a genre that was existing in India, and mainly it becomes a Darbari tradition. But there is a non-Darbari Qawwali tradition, and that is the community Qawwali tradition. And that community Qawwali tradition was very much existing, and um, uh, therefore you have to really take, I mean, map this Qawwali tradition. Abhi, it is very difficult to map. You can only get certain informations, but their diaries they exist, and their songs also exist. One has to really go and hunt for them. And therefore, there is a popular saying that emerged in Maharashtra. That is, Mahar Mangaचं गाणं, महार मांगाचं गाणं, कुणब्याचं दान आणि ब्राह्मणाचं लिखाण. That is how this popular saying emerges in Maharashtra. Like, the tradition of song is all about mahars and mangs. That is how they have been engaged with, and the kunbyaचं dana. So the kunbi is basically farming community who have been involved in making a uh, dana and gift and all kinds of things. And Brahmana's a likhana, like the Brahmins have been engaged only in writing. So you can see how this is constructed through these kind of small poem. Then making of leather instrument, it is becomes very important. So जो चमार थे, जो मांग थे, वो लेदर इंस्ट्रूमेंट बनाते थे. और अब जैसे कि भाई, आपको when you want a skin of an animal, it is very pivotal, very important. And you will notice that, like, that the dubri which is there, that that kind of sound it makes. And how that is made, it is made, the best dubri can be produced only out of the skin of Ghorpad, that is monitor lizard, the big monitor lizard, that wild big monitor lizard. I mean, you have to catch that monitor lizard, kill it, and it's a fantastic mutton and very good for rheumatic arthritis. People consume it. Whoever had arthritic kind of a problems, they always went and hunt those animals and eat them. That is a kind of a this things uh, this thing. So therefore this critique becomes very important. And like, when you make use of that scheme for for making that particular instrument, it becomes a fantastic skin, because it creates a very different kind of sound. And then you have a dholki and tabla that was being produced by the community themselves. And that is how, when it comes to the string instrument, the string instruments have been produced at a very varied level. Now, having the hairs of a horse was luxury and very expensive commodity, and therefore the community had devised to you make use of the jute as a part of your the thread, and create a sound out of it. And therefore you will notice that sound is very different than what you see in your violin, what the kind of a sound you get in violin, and the kind of a sound you get in in Sarangi. So these are the uh, um, these are very important things in order to understand is is um, these are the very very important things to understand as to how the instruments were produced during that time. Today you have, I mean, the instruments are industrialized today. You just go to the shop and you get those kind of things, but it was not so during that time. And therefore, like nagada or dhol and tasha and all kinds of things were being produced by different set of community. I still remember my nephew who studied in Darshan Pandekar, who studied in NIFT. So he made use of that. There is this Mazgi community in our area in Chandrapur, and he invited them to beat their drums and then dung 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 puchadang 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 dung 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 puchadang. I mean, that kind of a sound he recorded and he used it for his fashion parade. It's a beautiful sound he produced. I mean, it made a fantastic impact when you play those things with your high-end instruments. So therefore you have to therefore you have to understand as to how you the you have to understand as to how you really understand the production the production process. Now another these things is like in the Vidarbha region, you have different set of people, and in the Paschim Maharashtra region, you had a different set of people. Like Bansode, Dinbandhu, Kalicharan Das, then Nanda Gaudi, Ganesh, Akkaji Gavai, then Patin Pavadas, then Thavre, then Kawal Patankar, Hemchandra Khandekar, and Bhatkar. They were very much towering figure in the Vidarbha area. Whereas in the Western Maharashtra, you have Valgankar, Shivam Janba Kamble, then you have Vaman Kardak and Annabhav Sate. These are very important people who have produced those songs and made them popular at a public level. And likes of this Patankar, whose daughter then became a big star, and she used to make fantastic Qawwali performances, and one of her Qawwali was very very important. There is this critique of fashion, like all the long hairs, what you see in 70s and 80s, all those big bell bottoms and all those things, and she made a fantastic poem out of it, like बघा ही फॅशन मिळेना रॅशन आला बेल बॉटमचा जमाना लांब केस वाल्या या पुराना बघा लाइक देखो ये फैशन राशन नहीं मिलती मिले ना राशन यानी राशन नहीं मिल रहा है आपको आला बेल बॉटम का जमाना आ गया बेल बॉटम का जमाना लाम इन लंबे बाल वाले लड़कों को देखो this is how the cultural critique has been produced by these kawals and there is no record of it. There is no record of it at all. The record is that of the memories only. And there are a number of things which I'm speaking out of my memories. So, so these are the people who really made a difference. Then another thing is that like this like this Kisan Phaguji, he made a he made a fantastic poem. He says, हरी मज पशु का पक्षी कर परी नको करू महार हरी मज पशु कर व पक्षी कर ओ हरी you make me a bird you make me an animal but don't make me mahar. It further says पक्षियोनी मज रघु केले तरी हिंदू शिकवितो महार केलिया विटाळ मानुनी शिक्षण बंद करिता यास्तव पशु कर व पक्षी कर. By making me Mahar, I don't have any access to education, and these Hindus treat me as untouchable. Therefore, you don't make me Mahar. I don't mind becoming a bird or an animal. That is how you can understand as to what kind of a sensitivity and the public, the so-called like the post-colonials are so interested to study this whole idea of civility and liberty. What kind of a civility it had? What kind of a liberty it had? Liberty is all about exercising your power on others, and that is where the Ambedkar says that the compassion is a prerequisite to create a fraternity. And he makes it very clear. And therefore, he says that I learned fraternity from my master Buddha and not from the French Revolution. So the whole idea of civility and liberty was where untouchability was being followed in colonial India, in the pre-colonial India, and in the post-colonial India also. And irrespective of that, the post-colonialists would like to talk about, oh, their civility, what civility and liberty they are talking about. All the civility and liberty which is confined to the Brahmins. The Brahmins have to produce their self-critique. I am not seen the Brahmin community which is a dominating community in the intellectual and public sphere, are engaged in producing their self-critique. This becomes hugely problematic, and those who are sitting even outside, they also follow the similar line. I mean, their empowerment to produce a self-critique does not come because there is no enabling process for them, and their enabling process cannot come precisely because their theoretical foundation is so weak that they rely on others rather than seeing themselves as a part of protected ignorance. They don't want to see themselves as a part of protected ignorance. And unless until you come out of your protected ignorances, unless until you become non-self, you cannot present a critique of self. And the self cannot be understood by becoming a non-self, and the non-self cannot be understood by becoming a self. So it is always interdependent, it is always codependent. And how these things also get reflected in the poetic